It started with a flickering light above aisle 12. I'd seen it 100 times before during my late-night shifts at Walmart, but tonight, something about it felt different. My name's Matt, and I've been working the graveyard shift here in a small Tennessee town for about 6 months. It's usually quiet, maybe a couple of night owls or a teenager sneaking in for snacks. But this night, it was dead quiet, the kind of silence that presses against your ears like static. I was stocking shelves in the frozen food section when I heard it. A faint, dragging sound, like something heavy scraping across the floor. I stopped, turned my head toward the sound, and listened. It came from the back of the store, near the employee-only section. My manager, Kelly, was supposed to be in the office counting inventory, and the only other coworker on shift, a college kid named Jason, had gone out for a smoke break. "Hello?" I called out, my voice echoing faintly. No answer. I tried to brush it off. It was probably just the sound of the freezer compressors kicking on. But as I resumed shelving frozen pizzas, the sound grew louder. Drag. Pause. Drag. It was coming closer. My stomach tightened as I set down the box I was holding. Then came the smell. A sharp, metallic tang that turned my stomach. Blood. I turned the corner cautiously, heart hammering in my chest, and found aisle 15 completely empty. But at the far end, something caught my eye. A trail of smeared, dark liquid leading toward the employee doors. My breath caught in my throat. "Kelly?" I called out, louder this time. No answer. I grabbed my phone and dialed Jason. The ringtone buzzed faintly in the distance, and then I saw it, his phone, lying in the middle of the floor near the dairy section. Screen cracked. No Jason, just his phone. I picked it up, my hands shaking, and scanned the area. Something moved at the edge of my vision. A quick blur that disappeared into the shadows. "Who's there?" I shouted, my voice cracking. The only response was the faint hum of the fluorescent lights overhead. Then the lights started flickering. Not just the one in aisle 12, all of them. In the pulsing darkness, I saw it. A figure, tall and gaunt, standing at the end of the aisle. Its head was cocked to one side, its body unnaturally still. The thing was too far away for me to make out details, but its outline sent a chill down my spine. I stepped back instinctively, my heel slipping slightly in the blood smeared across the floor. I nearly fell but caught myself on a shelf. When I looked up again, the figure was gone. I bolted toward the employee area, my mind racing. Kelly had to be back there. She had to know what was going on. I shoved the door open and immediately froze. The back room was dark, the air heavy with that same metallic stench. Shelves of inventory loomed like gravestones, and in the corner, something was moving. It wasn't Kelly. It wasn't Jason. It was dragging something across the floor. I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't move. The thing, whatever it was hunched over in the corner, its movements jerky and unnatural, like a puppet on broken strings. It dragged something across the floor, a large, lumpy bag that left a streak of dark red in its wake. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. "Kelly?" My voice was barely above a whisper. The creature stopped. Its head snapped up, and though it was too dark to see its face, I could feel its gaze drilling into me. It wasn't human, at least not anymore. The way it moved, the way its head tilted as though listening to some sound only it could hear, it was wrong. All wrong. The overhead lights flickered violently, casting the back room into strobing flashes of light and shadow. Each flicker revealed more horrifying details. Limbs too long, a torso twisted unnaturally, and a face that seemed to melt into itself like wax dripping from a candle. Then it stood, slowly, deliberately. It was at least 7 feet tall, its head nearly brushing the ceiling. My breath caught in my throat as it turned toward me, revealing its face, or what was left of it. Its mouth stretched impossibly wide, rows of teeth glinting like jagged shards of glass. My survival instincts finally kicked in, and I bolted. I slammed the door shut behind me and grabbed a metal broomstick from a nearby shelf, jamming it through the door handles as a makeshift lock. The thing hit the door almost immediately, the impact so hard it rattled the hinges. The door buckled, but it held for now. I sprinted toward the front of the store, my heart pounding like a jackhammer. I needed to find Jason, or at least figure out what had happened to him. But as I rounded the corner to the customer service desk, I froze. Jason was there, or at least his body was. He was slumped against the counter, his eyes wide open, staring at nothing. His throat was slashed, the blood pooling beneath him glistening under the fluorescent lights. His hand was outstretched, as if he had been reaching for something or someone when he died. I gagged, my stomach twisting, but I didn't have time to process the scene. The pounding on the back room door grew louder, more frantic. The creature wasn't going to stay locked away for long. I grabbed the store phone and punched 911. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hit the buttons. 911, what's your emergency? The operator's calm voice was a jarring contrast to the chaos around me. There's something in the store, I stammered. It's not human. It killed Jason, and the line crackled, and the operator's voice distorted, breaking apart into static. Then I heard something else, something chilling, a low, guttural growl that wasn't coming from the phone. It was coming from behind me. I turned slowly, my breath catching in my throat. The creature was standing at the far end of the aisle, the door to the back room hanging off its hinges behind it. It had broken free, and it was coming for me. It moved faster than I thought something so grotesque could, loping down the aisle in erratic bursts of speed, its limbs snapping unnaturally as it closed the distance between us. The growl deepened, vibrating through the air, making my bones feel like they were rattling inside my body. I bolted. My shoes skidded on the tile floor as I sprinted toward the exit. My lungs burned, my heart hammering in my chest, but I didn't dare look back. I could hear it, though, its claws scraping against the floor, its breath raspy and wet. The automatic doors were right there, just a few more steps. They slid open with a cheerful chime that felt utterly out of place in the chaos. I burst outside, the cool night air hitting my face like a slap, but my relief was short-lived. The parking lot was empty. Where were the cars? The customers? The other employees? The lot, usually lit with rows of orange sodium lights, was plunged into near darkness, the only illumination coming from the flickering Walmart sign above the entrance. It was as if the world outside the store had vanished, leaving me trapped in some nightmarish pocket of reality. And then I heard it again, that dragging sound. I turned, and there it was, standing just inside the automatic doors, its grotesque form illuminated by the harsh fluorescent glow of the store. For a moment, it just stood there, staring at me, its head tilted as if curious. Then it stepped forward. I didn't think. I ran. My legs carried me to the far end of the parking lot, where I knew there was a small maintenance shed near the loading dock. I prayed it was unlocked. The sound of the creature's pursuit was relentless, its footsteps slapping against the pavement, the occasional guttural growl breaking the night's eerie silence. The shed came into view, and I nearly cried with relief when I saw the door ajar. I dove inside, slamming the door shut behind me and locking it with the rusted latch. The interior smelled of oil and mildew, but it was dark and cramped, perfect for hiding. I pressed myself into the corner, my chest heaving as I tried to quiet my breathing. The creature's footsteps slowed, then stopped. My heart pounded so loudly I was sure it would hear me. For what felt like an eternity, there was silence. Maybe it had lost me. Maybe. A loud bang shattered my thoughts as the creature slammed against the door, the thin metal rattling under the force. Again and again it pounded, each impact sending shockwaves through the tiny space. The latch held, but barely. I needed a plan. My eyes darted around the shed, searching for anything I could use as a weapon. My hand landed on a crowbar, cold and solid in my grip. It wasn't much, but it was all I had. The banging stopped. Silence. My grip tightened on the crowbar. Was it gone? Or was it waiting? I strained to hear, the blood rushing in my ears drowning out everything else. Then, I heard it, the slow, deliberate scrape of claws on metal. It was climbing the shed. I looked up, my stomach dropping as I realized the roof was little more than a thin layer of corrugated tin. If it got up there, it could rip through in seconds. I had to act. I kicked the door open, crowbar raised, ready to fight. The creature wasn't on the roof. It was waiting just outside, crouched low, its grotesque mouth stretching into what could almost be called a smile. It had been toying with me. Before I could react, it lunged. It launched itself at me with an unnatural speed, its distorted limbs clawing at the air. I swung the crowbar with everything I had, connecting with a sickening crack against its head. The impact sent it reeling, a guttural screech ripping from its throat, but it didn't fall. It only seemed angrier. I didn't wait to see what it would do next. I ran back toward the store, my only thought being to get inside where I might have a chance to outmaneuver it. The automatic doors slid open again, their cheerful chime mocking me as I dashed inside. I sprinted to the hardware aisle, my mind racing. I needed something stronger, something that could stop this thing for good. As I grabbed a propane torch and a canister of lighter fluid from the shelves, the creature burst into the store, its grotesque silhouette framed by the flickering lights. It paused for a moment, its head tilting as it scanned the aisles, searching for me. Then it began moving, its claws clicking against the tiles as it sniffed the air like a predator hunting its prey. I crouched low behind a shelf, fumbling with the torch and fluid, my hands trembling. I soaked the crowbar in the lighter fluid, then flicked the torch on, the blue flame roaring to life. My makeshift weapon wouldn't last long, but it might be enough. The creature rounded the corner, its glowing eyes locking onto me. It let out a roar, a guttural sound that seemed to rattle the very walls of the store, and charged. I waited until it was almost on top of me, then swung the flaming crowbar. The fire caught its shoulder, and the smell of burning flesh filled the air as the creature shrieked, stumbling back. But it didn't retreat. Instead, it lunged again, swiping with its claws. I barely dodged, the tips slicing through my shirt. I swung again, this time aiming for its torso. The flames spread, engulfing its chest as it writhed and screamed. It thrashed wildly, knocking over shelves and scattering products everywhere. But I didn't stop. I kept swinging, driving it back toward the frozen foods section. It collapsed against one of the freezers, its body still aflame. But even as it burned, it kept moving, its claws scraping weakly at the tiles. I grabbed the lighter fluid and doused it completely, then threw the canister into the flames. The explosion wasn't huge, but it was enough. The creature let out one final, ear-piercing shriek before collapsing into a smoldering heap. The fire alarm blared, and the sprinklers activated, dousing the flames and soaking me in the process. I stood there, panting, staring at the charred remains of the thing that had hunted me. As the fire suppression system hissed to a stop, the silence returned. The creature wasn't moving. It was over. When the police and fire department arrived, I told them everything. Of course, they didn't believe me, not about the creature, at least. They chalked it up to some kind of psychotic breakdown, maybe even drug use. Jason's death was ruled a homicide, but with no leads and no logical explanation, the case went cold. They didn't find the creature's body. The sprinklers had extinguished the flames, but when they searched the area, all they found was a puddle of blackened, viscous goo that dissolved before they could collect it. I quit my job at Walmart the next day. I haven't set foot in one since, but sometimes, late at night, I still hear that sound, the dragging, the claws scraping against the floor. I don't know if it's in my head, or if the thing somehow survived, waiting to find me again. All I know is, if it does, I'll be ready.